I want to take you back to your experience where you sold all of everything and then you're left with not understanding where your goals are or what's going on next. How did you take that next step? How did you move forward from that space? Because there might be somebody out there that's like, man, I'm in that spot now, or I just won the lottery.
Yeah, well, those are two very different questions. So, to answer the first one, how did I start getting out? I started by first understanding, okay, so I'm depressed. Well, where's that coming from? Well, that comes from a fear of not knowing what I'm going to do next. Okay, great. I look at fear as signposts. Fear is a way of telling us that something's going on. And it's kind of funny. There's two kinds of fears in the world. There's the one where the saber-toothed tiger is running at you down the hill, and if you don't run, you get eaten. That's a very visceral, real fear, right? The second fear is here. And that's the one that traps us. And so when I would say to anybody, first off, if you're in a depression, try to figure out where the fear is. Try to figure out what's fearful because usually when you're depressed, it's coming from a place of either depression or anxiety, right? And then, a long time ago, I learned depression is worrying about the past and anxiety is worrying about the future and not knowing how to control one or the other. So identifying the fear and then from there start asking, okay, what doubts are coming up for me? And so what I did was I found out that my biggest challenge right then is I didn't know what to do next. I didn't have any steps forward. So I guess even though it was a depression, it was based on anxiety. And so by building those three really simple goals, that was my first clawing up out of that space and giving myself something to do. And again, it was goals that were achievable but not finishable.
Mhm.
And that it was important that I added the third goal, which is neither at the harm or impedance of others, because you can have fun where you actually can harm people, right? You can do learning where you take advantage of people. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do both of them in a very clear and concise way. So those three goals allowed me to kind of scrabble to the next part. And then everything that built into the book was all about learning and having fun doing it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I've also often hear too, like the opposite of depression is purpose. And if you can
that makes
figure
sense.
out your purpose and understand the difference between also then it brings you to the difference between purpose and passion. Your passion may be something that changes over time, or you might love one thing today, another thing tomorrow, or you love them both, or whatever you're passionate. But with the purpose, it is that constant. And I think that's why it could serve as the opposite of depression, but it's a constant. A purpose for you was to have fun. A
And
purpose for
learn.
you was to learn and not
Exactly.
impede others. Yeah. And I was just like, that's very eloquent in how you could lead from being then leading your life, not just living it. And then that changes the game for you for forever.
Exactly right.
What was your next move? It wasn't this book. That was
Oh,
many
no, no,
a
no. The
few
next
years.
move, like I mentioned, was that I got hired at a bank, and then my boss, through I don't know, I'd only been there a few weeks, and we got to know each other pretty good. And he said, "Yeah, he doesn't believe in souls at all." And then I started down the path of, okay, well, hmm, let's figure that out.
Mhm.
And so again, curiosity, right? And then I came up with the 4 questions, and then that actually fundamentally changed the way he looked at life. And I went, "Huh, that's pretty cool." And then that started me down the curiosity of, okay, great. If we have a soul, okay, what does that mean? And so it was really just this kind of question, and stepping out, kind of like you had mentioned earlier that mentors, a lot of good mentors, they ask questions. They don't tell people things, they draw questions out.
Mhm.
I would say that for anybody that's stuck is to start doing exactly that. Start asking questions. Why am I stuck? What's sticking me? What's the fear? What's the doubt? What am I feeling? What is going on here? And really start kind of just question, 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 because with questions and answers becomes freedom.
Yes.